तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। Vande Gurur Mandalam. Shivoham. We have discussed 100 verses of Shiv Swarodaya by now. Some very important foundation rules have been shared with you. I expect all of you are practicing the science of success and self-evolution with awareness after gaining the understanding of previous 100 verses. If you are watching this as your first video and missed the success principles of Shiv Swarodaya, I request you to watch all the videos from the beginning and put them to use for creating a better life. The link to the playlist is provided in the description box. Let's move to the next verse, that is 101st verse. It states, शुभान्य शुभ कार्याणि क्रियन्ते अहर्निशं यदा तदा कार्या अनुरोधेन कार्यम नाडी प्रचालनम. It means during day and night, whatever auspicious or inauspicious work one needs to do, one should always do it when the correct nadi is flowing. Living requires us to engage in all sorts of karmas. Some are gentle and some are rigorous. Some are charitable, some are selfish, some constructive, some destructive, and so on. There are so many types of actions done by a person all along the day and night. A Swar Yogi needs to have correct understanding about which nadi should be active during which type of activity. Here is a secret. When a person engages in actions according to the natural swar at that moment, then he gains control over his swar. Many times people say that when they want to change the swar to do some particular work, particular important work, and with all their efforts either the swar does not change or it changes for very brief period and reverts back to the original within a few moments of the intended activity. Such things will happen if you are generally not doing activities according to the swar and sporadically remember about the swar. So always feed the swar with the right type of activity and the swar will be pleased. This is a way of performing yagna to propitiate the two primary cosmic forces, sun and moon. It strengthens your body, mind and intellect. In the next few verses, we will understand about which activities should be done when lunar swar is active. The next verse, that is 102nd verse, states, Sthir karmanya alankare dura dvagamane tatha आश्रमे धर्म प्रसादे वस्तुनाम संग्रहे अपीच. It means stable works, buying jewelry, going long distances, works related to ashram, temples and castles, and collecting things. These are all the activities that should be done when your left swar is active. Opening a bank account or fixed deposit will also come under stable type of work. Any work that is done for long term should be done during the influence of Chandra Nadi. When you are putting the foundation stone for building a house, temple or ashram, it should be done when your lunar swar is active. Advan means journey. As discussed before, traveling long distances should be done when the lunar swar is active. Collecting things means when we gather things that will be useful in future. Just a word of caution for businessmen, retailers and wholesalers. It does not mean using the power of swar, you start hoarding things to make profit. Okay, let's take the next verse, that is the 103rd verse. Vapi कूप तड़ागादेहे प्रतिष्ठा स्तंभ देव्योः यात्रा दाने विवाहे च वस्त्र अलंकार भूषणे. It means Building ponds, wells or tanks, consecrating deity idols in the temple, traveling in general, doing charity, marriage and buying clothes and jewelry. Here we have some other activities that should be done when the lunar swar is active. When you start the digging for a well or pond, it should be done in lunar swar, and also installation of tanks to store water. In the last verse, we understood building a temple is done when the lunar swar is active. And now we know that even the idol of a deity is placed in the temple and Prana Pratishtha is done to be in the same swar. Marriage is an important decision, and therefore everybody tries their best to make it a meaningful venture. People want to be as sure as possible to make the best decision here. If you have done the sadhana of Swar Yog properly, then you can use this information better. Because it is not only about the moment of marriage, but even in search of the right prospect, Swar can be your best guide. When a prospect comes to your attention and your lunar swar is active, it means it is good for you. Further, buying clothes and jewelry is good during your lunar swar. Here's a catch. This rule works only if you are a keeper by nature and not a person who frequently discards clothes and jewelry owing to the changing fashion trends. The next verse is 104th verse. It states, Shantike Pushtike Chaiva Divya Aushadhi Rasayane Swaswami Darshane Mitra Vanijya Kan Sangrahe. It means doing peaceful works, taking nourishment and divine medicines, meeting one's friend, master, and doing business and storing grains. Lunar is most favorable when we have to do tasks that require a peaceful state of mind. Peaceful works that have a long-term effects, or while making important decisions that will impact us for a long time, one should have one's lunar swar active. It is also good to prepare food in active lunar swar. The first line has two terms, Shantike and Pushtike. These terms are primarily related to Tantric rituals. In Tantra, we have Shat Karms, that is 6 types of specialized rituals that are performed to achieve a desired outcome. These karmas are classified as Akarshan or Mohan, Vashikaran, Uchchatan, Vidveshan, Stambhan and Maran. These 6 rituals may sometimes fall even in sinister categories as well. But apart from these 6, there are 2 more specialized rituals that are called Shantikaran and Pushtikaran. Shantikaran is related to pacifying the disturbed energies in one's life. These disturbances may be caused due to many reasons such as grahas, pitras, curse, abhichar, and even pretas and yakshas, etc. The Pushtikaran rituals are performed to bring nourishment, wealth, health and prosperity. In fact, it is advised by masters of Tantric rituals that Shanti karmas should be followed by Pushti karmas for the best outcome. In fact, one of the most common example of Pushtikaran is Mahamrityunjay Anushtan that people take up when someone's life is or health is in danger. Lord Shiva is saying that these 2 karmas, that is Shanti and Pushti, should be taken up in Chandraswar. I can tell you that I have seen the effects of these karmas, but that is not the point. The question should be, how many people are there now who believe in the impeccable powers of mantras and rituals? Hardly some. And therefore, the use of such rituals is on decline. So, what should we understand of these 2 words in modern context? The mediation for resolving a conflict can be considered as Shanti karma, and nourishing the body mind rejuvenation regimes should be taken as Pushtikarans. With this renewed understanding, let's discuss the meaning of it now. It is being said that one should take nourishing foods etc. when the lunar swar is active. You should understand here that nourishing foods does not mean the normal meals that one takes during the day. It means some special additional nourishment that one takes, like laddus made of dry fruits, sesame seeds, supplements and other such healthy ingredients. It will be interesting for you to know that Sushrut, one of the ancient Indian masters of medicine, is also known as father of surgery. He is believed to prepare the round shaped balls made of sesame seeds that he gave to his patients as an antiseptic after the surgery. Gradually, other medicinal ingredients continued getting added in that basic recipe, and now we have many versions of laddus. Coming back to the subject, one should take medicines when lunar swar is active. There are a few more things that too you can keep in mind. When you give medicine to someone, you should do it with the hand on the side of your active swar. Medicines for diseases that are caused due to increased pitta in the body should be taken when the right swar is active, and medicines for diseases caused due to increased cough and vata should be taken when the left swar is active. The basic rule remains: as you take the medicine, always use the hand of your dominant swar. As I have mentioned before too, when you go to meet your superiors, do it when your left swar is active. And left swar is also good for collecting and storing grains and wealth. Those who have godowns or warehouses should keep this in mind. Let's take the next verse, 105th verse. It states, Griha praveshe sevayam krusho cha bija vapane shubh karmani sandho cha nirgame cha shubha shashi. It means entering a new home, doing service, farming, sowing seeds, auspicious works, forming alliance, and going out of house is done when the lunar swar is active. Griha Pravesh is a special ceremony that is done when entering a new home. So from putting the foundation stone to entering the home, left swar is your ally to make it successful and auspicious. When you are doing some service or charity, do it when your left swar is active. It will help you in being free from the ego that may rise within you. For all of you who are related to farming, do it when your left swar is active, especially the process of sowing seeds. Do it as per swar rules and you will realize how different the crop is when you align your activities with the rhythm of the cosmic energies. When you are forming an alliance and signing a treaty or agreement, always enter in it when your lunar swar is active, as it will help you to keep your mind peaceful and make correct choices. As discussed earlier, it is good to leave home during active Chandranadi. The next verse, that is 106th verse, states Vidya arambha adikaryeshu bandhavanam cha darshane janma mokshe cha dharme cha dikshayam mantra sadhane. It means beginning studies, meeting friends, attaining moksha liberation, doing worship, getting initiated in a spiritual path, and doing mantra sadhana. The first day of school, entering a new class after getting promoted, the first day of college, or first day of any professional course that you have taken up. All these are important days in your life. ensure that you have left swar active while starting these activities. Generally, to my students, I advise them to leave the house in left swar and enter the premises of school, college or university to in left swar. And that I have seen has a profound and lasting impact on the overall quality of their performance. Meeting friends and well-wishers with active left swar. Also, when one is doing sadhana or a spiritual practice for attaining liberation, one should start it with active lunar swar. Initiation of any sort should be done and received in active left swar. In fact, it has been my direct experience that in the Shakti Vigyaan Diksha that I have been imparting for more than last 10 years, I have observed that almost 98% of the disciples attain their left swar at the actual time of the initiation. Interestingly, those 1-2% students who do not get their lunar swar rhythm find it difficult to stick to the discipline of sadhana. In many cases, such students either come back asking for reinitiation or just move away. Swar Vigyaan guides us that the mantra sadhana, especially the sadhana of peaceful and fortunate mantra, should be done in left swar. You may wonder, are there some mantras that are not so peace-giving? Well, yes. In Tantra, there are many mantras that heighten our energies to very high levels. And therefore, some people who are unable to handle this surge in their energies experience aggressiveness, agitation, etc. Mostly such mantras are the ones which are capable of bringing ill effects on others too. In the first place, such mantras should not be done without the guidance of your guru, and there also, if the guru is learned one, he or she will definitely instruct you to begin it with active solar swar. Let's take the next verse, the 107th verse. It states, Kala Vigyaan Sutretu Chatushpad Grihagame Kala Vyadhi Chikitsayam Swami Sambodhane Tatha. It means the studies related to time, bringing the cattle home, treating diseases and addressing one's master. The studies related to time means sciences related to prediction like astrology, Ramal, Prashna, divinations like tarot, I Ching, Ram Shalaka, etc. In fact, there are many others. While reading a birth chart or while studying such sciences, it's always beneficial to have lunar swar active. Chatushpad means four-legged animals. It refers to cattle here. Buying cattle or bringing them home, both can be done when left swar is active. Kal Vyadhi means diseases that are life-threatening or incurable. It requires proper diagnosis of the symptoms to understand the treatment of such diseases. I would like to share some very simple but extremely effective tips to treat diseases here. If a person has an illness that is caused due to increase in heat or pitta dosh in the body, then he should activate lunar swar. It will cool down the body and help in alleviating the symptoms. If the illness is caused due to increase in kapha dosh, then activate the solar nadi. Many times we are not able to understand the cause of the illness. In such a case, activate both nadis, one after another for some time periodically. Either in left nadi or in right nadi, the patient will feel some relief. Keep that nadi activated where the patient feels better, and the patient will soon be cured. One more word of caution. After few days, you need to reassess the comfort level. Alright, let's take the next verse, that is the 108th verse. Gaj Ashwa Rohane Dhanvi Gajashwanam cha bandhane paropakarane chaiva nidhinam sthapane tatha. It means mounting a horse or elephant, or keeping elephant or horse in the stable, learning archery, doing charity, and keeping wealth in a safe. When you are mounting a horse or an elephant or keeping them in a stable, it is understood here that the animals are already trained. It means when you are dealing with trained animals that are under your control, you should have your lunar swar active. In modern times, there are no animal carriers, and therefore it should be read as vehicle. Make sure you enter your new car in the lunar swar. Archery is an art that requires enormous amounts of discipline and concentration. The mind is able to easily concentrate when lunar swar is active. So such activities that require your attention should be done when lunar swar is active. Like building a safe or keeping money in the safe, that too. If you keep your valuables in a safe place while your lunar swar is active, you will not be in doubt or in fear regarding their safety. You may have heard this, havan karne mein haath jalna, which means getting a bad name or getting hurt while doing a good deed or seva. If you know this rule, I can assure you, you will be forever saved from such unpleasant experiences in your life. And the rule is, all deeds of philanthropy should be done when lunar swar is active. Let's take the next verse, the 109th verse. It states, Gita Vadyadi Nrityadau Nritya Shastra Vicharane Puragram Niveshecha Tilak Kshetre Dharane. It means while singing, playing musical instruments, dancing, thinking about studies that are related to dance, entering some city, applying tilak, or investing in a land. Here we understand that when we are engaged in creative and artistic work, it is good to have our left swar active. The results of our efforts depend on our state of mind. An artist creates masterpieces when he or she is in a tranquil state of mind and in communion with the universal creative energies. In this Brahmand, the cosmic principle becomes active when it goes through the lunar cycle. So when this pind or body is also following the same cycle, its creative powers will be multiplied manifold. It means heightened creativity can happen when your lunar swar is active. Although it is mentioned that when one is thinking about studies related to dancing, but it should be understood that even when composing music, thinking about creating something new through painting or sculpting, lunar swar is beneficial. Did you ever wonder why people organize musical and dance related events either in the evening or at the night? Why not when the sun is up in the sky? I can tell you that human beings are governed by moon energies. That's why. For ordinary people, the gross presence of sun and moon may become a reason, but for a Swar Yogi, that is not the case. He can effectively and successfully use the lunar cycles even during the day to his advantage. Alright, now the other activities like applying tilak is an important part of Sanatan Dharma or Hindu tradition. It signifies blessing and protection of the Almighty. Here we can also understand it as Rajya Abhishek. It means when a prince takes up the throne and becomes the king. Also remember, you need to have your lunar swar active when you are entering any place for the first time, and also during purchase of land. The next verse is 110th verse. It states, Arti shok vishadeshu jvarite murchite apiva swajan swami sambandhe annade daru sangrahe. It means helping people who are in grief, sadness, lamenting, or having fever, or are unconscious while connecting to relative and superiors and collecting grains and wood. When you have to deal with someone who is going through a tough time in life or is suffering from depression, you need to have immense patience and compassion too. It means the situations where a person has to remain patient, balanced, and take decisions after thoroughly understanding a situation. Left swar is best. While we are dealing with people who are going through grief and sadness, we need to empathize and not try to force our opinions to push them out of the situation. A successful counselor is the one who waits patiently rather till the time his subjects are ready to listen and accept. Here's a tip for those parents who, in their efforts to mend the ways of their children, often lose their temper. Next time you counsel your kids, ensure you have Lunar Swar active. That will help you immensely, and with your active left swar you can develop this patience. Further, we are also advised to meet our relatives and superiors when our left swar is active. Again, we are advised that while collecting or storing or securing materials, it's beneficial to have our left swar active. Let's take the next verse, that is the 111th verse. It states, Strinam dantadi bhushayam vrishter agamane tatha guru puja vishadinam chalane cha varanane. It means, O beautiful Parvati, it is good for adorning women's teeth, etc. during onset of rain while worshipping Guru, removal of poison. Here a reference is made to an ancient ritual of adorning women's teeth, although it is not in practice now. So what should we take it as? We should understand that all the activities that are related to makeup, using cosmetics, doing hair, etc. You should adorn yourself with good dress, etc. with Lunar Swar active. It is also said that during the onset of rain, Lunar Swar has to stay active. Rains are a beautiful phenomenon, but they do not always bring good news with them. Untimely rains are not always good for the crops. If the onset of rain, Lunar Swar is active, then it means that the rain will bring auspiciousness and growth. Otherwise, it will not be beneficial and may create havoc. Well, if you have a question, how will my swar impact the effect of rains at large, then your question is valid. In fact, it should be clearly understood that it is not applicable to the masses, but to the king or the ruler of the city, town or country. But it is applicable to farmers also who do farming on their own land. A Puranic story where Lord Shiva consumed the halahal poison was suffering with its heat, and therefore when the moon came out of the Samudra Manthan, it was offered to Lord Shiva. With the moon's cool and nourishing energies, Lord Shiva's heat of poison was calmed. There are a few techniques in our Tantric system that help in removing poison from the body. In Himalayan region where our ashram is located, we have seen many villagers have this knowledge of removing the poison and using Shabar mantras. I am privy to many cases where medical doctors failed and the condition of the patients continued to deteriorate. Simply, this poison removal worked and they could restore their health. It worked like magic. The methods of our tantric tradition are different, but here these villagers use cow's milk in this process. And you should understand why. Because milk is related to the moon's energies. Anyways, without getting into details, the rule is removal of poison is to be done through dominant moon energies. It works best if the swar of the suffering person is also changed forcefully to the Chandra. In lunar swar, you are receptive, and it is also instructed here that one's lunar swar should be active when paying respects to the gurus. Why? To receive their blessings, their transforming energies. The next verse is 112th verse. It states, Idayam siddhidam proktam yoga abhyasadi karmacha tatrapi varjed vayum tej akashamevacha. It means Ida Nadi brings a success in all actions like practice of yoga. However, one should avoid air, fire and space tattvas or elements. Ida Nadi is said to be auspicious Nadi, and you must have noticed that all the auspicious and nourishing activities should be done during active lunar swar. In this verse it is mentioned Yoga Abhyasadi, which means practice of yoga and others. If you have been following this talk series and you have made the teachings by heart, then you will be little confused on this instruction. Why? Because all the spiritual practices through which an individual soul finds its way to the Supreme Soul and merges with the infinite are the practices of yoga. And repeatedly it was said that in Sushumna Nadi it is best to remember God, to do bhakti and spiritual endeavours. This is correct observation, because Sushumna Nadi and spiritual practice, they are tied together, because no worldly action, self-oriented or charitable, leads to success in it. Rather, only spiritual endeavours are supported by Sushumna, because it is said to be representing Kalagni. So the question is valid, but then what should you do? Well, let me explain it to you. For that, the word Yoga Abhyas needs to be understood first. People understand yoga as a practice of physical postures known as asanas. But it is not only that. Maharshi Patanjali has clearly stated 8 aspects of yoga. As per what I have learned from my revered Gurudev, there are 4 active steps of yoga. They are Yam, Niyam, Asan and Pran Niyantran. Pran Niyantran is further divided into 2 parts, Nadi Shuddhi and Pranayama. These 4 aspects require practitioners' active participation. Here you have to do something. You begin Yam, Niyamas, where you employ your Sankalp Shakti or willpower and emotional energies to bring about the desired changes in your inner state and actions. Then you actively use your body and loosen your Dehatma Bhav. And finally, you work on your breath to loosen the bond between mind and body. Once a practitioner has attained moderate prana mastery, the next 4 aspects are taken up. That are Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan and Samadhi. In fact, Gurudev always said these 4 steps of yoga are passive ones. They are rooted in non-doing. But when Pranayama Siddhi is attained, the next 4, that is Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan and Samadhi, are achieved effortlessly. The similar thing you may have also heard from Acharya Ji in his Shiv Sutra discourses, where he had introduced a term effortless effort. That was in the Sutra of Udyamo Bhairava. Well, it simply means that these four are effortless endeavours, provided the first four have been actively achieved by you. Having given you this understanding now, I can explain when you should use Ida Nadi or Lunar Swara. Ida Nadi is to be used during the first four aspects of yoga. What about the last four? Well, that will be clear when we understand Sushumna. So in yoga, all those practices that are to be done actively are to be taken up under the influence of Lunar Nadi. Hope now it is clear. But if you want to achieve 100% success, you cannot arbitrarily start your active yoga practices just by checking the lunar swara. Further, in this verse, it is also mentioned that air, fire and space elements should be avoided. As we have discussed before, all the five tattvas arise in both the nostrils. It means when lunar nadi is active, all the five tattvas, that are earth element, water element, fire element, air element and space element, all get active for some time. To have the best results with the lunar nadi, you should avoid starting any activity when the air element, fire element or space element is active. It means the auspicious and favorable elements are earth element and water element. We will get to understand it more in the upcoming verses. Let's take the next verse, that is the last verse related to the activities to be done in lunar swar, the 113th verse. It states, Sarva karyani siddhyanti diva ratri gatanyapi sarveshu shubh karyeshu chandrachare prashasyate. It means all the activities done during day and night are successful when lunar nadi is active. It is good for all auspicious works. Activities that are promising, encouraging, inspiring, nurturing and auspicious should be done under the influence of Chandra Nadi or Ida Nadi. When Ida Nadi is active, the prana vibrations flowing in the nervous system calm down the mind and relax the body. But what Mother Divine through nature has planned is balance. The Ida Nadi is feminine in nature and has introverted energies. So when most of the time your Ida Nadi is active, then you will notice that you lack competitiveness, heightened energy, excitement and dynamism that's required to tap your complete potential. Therefore, no Swarida or Pingla and even Sushumna can be said to be favorable when in excess. Whether on spiritual path or on material front, you will require all the Swaras functioning in balance. Ida means more caring and nurturing energies. When you engage in an activity that requires your complete mental presence, emotional involvement, then you should do it during active lunar nadi. In this verse, it is said that activities, whether done during day or night, if auspicious in nature, should be done when Ida Nadi is active. When the Chandra Swar is active, our right brain is said to be more active than the left brain. Although we function through both the sides of our brain lobes in all situations, yet logical, structural, factual and linear thinking are all processed by our left brain, while creative, imaginative and artistic ideas are processed in our right brain. By keeping this information in mind, you can decide on which activity you should do under the influence of which nadi? Today I have discussed at length on all the activities that can be done when your lunar nadi is active. I hope you make the most of this information and always keep your awareness on your swar. That's all for today. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I bow down to the divine sitting in your hearts. Shivoham.